Greetings, cosmic travelers. Yes, come a little closer to the glowing campfire of curiosity. Shake the dust of ordinary thinking from your boots, and take a deep breath of that wonderfully strange fungal air, because you have officially wandered back into the tangled underroots of reality. Welcome to TMN Podcast 2.0. I am, as always, your wandering guide through the Cosmic Mycelial Network. That is, the Grand Cosmic Mycelial Network, of course. Yes, that one. The infinitely branching, ever-expanding, spore-threaded lattice of existence itself. The one that quietly connects forests, planets, minds, civilizations, and the occasional wandering cosmic traveler who accidentally stumbled into enlightenment while trying to identify a mushroom. You know, that network. Surely you've heard of it by now. The great underground, overground, interstellar fungal internet that links together the infinite Myco-Verses. A living system of connections stretching across realities like luminous mycelial strands weaving through the soil of the cosmos itself. Honestly, cosmic travelers, I sometimes worry about you. How could anyone possibly roam the universe without noticing the Grand Cosmic Mycelial Network humming beneath their feet? It's everywhere. In the forest floor, in the roots of ancient trees, in the quiet exchange of nutrients beneath a meadow, and, if you listen very carefully, perhaps even whispering through the strange connections between curious minds who gather here, week after week, to explore the wonders of the fungal kingdom. Yes, that network. The one that binds together explorers, dreamers, scientists, foragers, and the occasional slightly eccentric Spore Keeper who spends far too much time wandering through cosmic mushroom cities. But I suppose if you're here listening, then perhaps you already feel those threads tugging at your curiosity. Perhaps you've already sensed that strange pull toward the mysteries hidden beneath the forest floor. And if that's the case, well then, congratulations, cosmic traveler. You're already part of the network. You just didn't realize it yet. Now, before we begin tonight's sporetacular journey deeper into the tangled wisdom of the fungal world, we have a few earthly happenings to share from our own little corner of the Myco-Verse. So let's pass the spore baton over to our ever-curious scientific navigator, the one who somehow manages to translate fungal discoveries into understandable language for the rest of us wandering through the cosmic woods. Nova, the mycelial microphone is yours.
Thank you, Spore Keeper. All right, Myco listeners, cosmic travelers, let's jump into this week's TMN News and Updates, where we look at some of the latest developments happening across the incredible world of fungi. And our first story is a great reminder that even when scientists think they've already figured something out, fungi still manage to surprise us. But before we dive into the latest fungal discoveries sprouting across the scientific world, we've got a little update from our own corner of the Myco-Verse. Because if you happen to be roaming around Suwannee County, Florida later this month, you might stumble across something rather unusual growing at the local fairgrounds. The Myco Emporium is gearing up to set up shop at the Suwannee County Fair, running March 20th through March 28th, 2026. And when those fair gates swing open each evening at 6 p.m. sharp, well, let's just say the spores will be flying. The Myco Emporium crew has been hard at work in the workshop lately, crafting some really cool new creations. We're talking custom PETG printed designs inspired by mushrooms, forest spirits, and all kinds of whimsical woodland vibes. Little sculpted mushroom homes, strange forest ornaments, fairy core decorations that look like they were plucked straight out of some enchanted grove deep in the woods. But here's where it gets even better. These aren't just decorations. Many of them are actually designed to attach directly to trees, helping you turn your own backyard into a miniature enchanted forest ecosystem. And in some cases, they even double as tiny homes for jumping spiders and other curious little forest critters that may decide to move in. Which means you're not just adding some fungal flair to your yard. You might actually be helping create a tiny habitat for some of the small creatures sharing your environment. A little pocket of woodland magic right in your own neck of the woods. So if you're planning to visit the Suwannee County Fair, be sure to wander over and say hello to the Myco Emporium crew and see what strange fungal curiosities they've brought along this year. Now, With that bit of earthly fungal news out of the way, let's shift our gaze back to the wider world of mycology. Because fungi have been busy lately, and some fascinating discoveries have been sprouting up across the scientific community. And our first story this week highlights just how much fungal diversity might still be hiding right under our noses. Researchers recently discovered that mushrooms long believed to be a single species may actually be 3 completely different species hiding in plain sight. Scientists studying mushrooms within the Russula genus conducted DNA analysis and discovered that what appeared to be one species was actually multiple genetically distinct fungi that had been mistaken for each other for decades. Visually, these mushrooms looked almost identical, but genetically they told a very different story. Once researchers examined their DNA, subtle evolutionary differences revealed that these mushrooms had been following separate evolutionary paths all along. And discoveries like this highlight something mycologists have suspected for quite some time. We may only understand a small fraction of the fungal diversity on Earth. Scientists have officially documented around 150,000 fungal species, but many experts believe the real number could be somewhere between 2 million and 4 million species, which means every time researchers take a closer look at fungi we thought we already understood, they may be uncovering entire hidden branches of the fungal family tree. Now shifting gears into the medical side of mycology. Scientists are studying why some fungi may be becoming better adapted to infecting humans. A recent genomic study suggests that environmental changes, including rising global temperatures, may be encouraging certain soil fungi to evolve traits that help them survive inside mammalian bodies. Researchers discovered that some fungi are developing metabolic traits that allow them to tolerate warm, fatty environments. And as it turns out, the human body happens to provide exactly that kind of environment. Now, this doesn't mean fungi are suddenly plotting world domination or anything like that, but it does highlight how adaptable these organisms really are. Understanding how fungi evolve and adapt to new environments could help scientists predict and prevent future fungal disease outbreaks. And as the climate changes, this kind of research may become increasingly important for public health. And now for our final story this week, which actually connects directly to something we'll be exploring a little deeper later in today's episode. Scientists and engineers are continuing to explore how fungi can be used to create entirely new types of materials. Researchers are currently developing fungal technologies for things like biodegradable packaging, sustainable building materials, plant-based foods, and even advanced manufacturing processes like green chemistry and nanotechnology. Some recent studies have even shown that mushroom waste products can be used to create useful compounds like prebiotic sugars and microscopic nanoparticles. In other words, fungi are rapidly becoming one of the most exciting platforms for sustainable manufacturing and biomaterials. And this brings us perfectly to our next segment, because in today's Myco Deep Dive, we're going to explore how these remarkable organisms might help us build something truly extraordinary. Living structures, growing architecture, and perhaps even habitats for future space exploration. But before we descend into that fungal rabbit hole, we're going to take a quick Myco break, so stick around. Because when we return, we'll be diving into living architecture, building the future with mycelium. And trust me, it's going to grow on you.
Something ancient has awakened. Not a place you browse, a place that calls. Living systems, rare forms, handled with respect. This isn't a shop. It's an encounter. Myco Emporium, where the weird gets wonderful. Come see it for yourself. Find us on our YouTube channel, The Mushroom Network. Yeah, that one. Or on Facebook, Myco Emporium. And you can always step inside at myco-emporium.com to explore our attractions and specimens, both live and transcended, with detailed care guides and fully sportastic vibes. Enter if you're ready.
Just stop for a second. Just stand completely still right here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is so quiet.
Right. I mean, we are inside an active construction site right now, and there are no jackhammers. Yeah. There are no diesel engines or like backup alarms beeping.
No concrete mixers at all. Just absolute profound silence.
Because the walls of this room are literally digesting agricultural waste and quietly growing themselves. Like right now, as we speak.
It's the ambient temperature that makes it so unsettling for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you put your hand near this unfinished column over here, and there's no heat of industry. There's no friction. You expect the creation of structural architecture to be this violent assault on the senses.
Right, tons of noise and heat.
Exactly. But here, the architecture is just metabolizing. It is creeping up the scaffolding while we stand here breathing, and it's performing molecular engineering in total silence.
And if you look at the formworks they've set up around us, these plastic molds shaped like interlocking wall panels. If you're walking with us through this space, cosmic travelers, just look down at what they've actually poured into them.
It's literal garbage.
It really is. It is hemp herds, dried corn husks, straw, sawdust, just pure agricultural waste that would normally be burned or left to rot in a field.
And then mix it with a biological culture, leave it in the dark, and a load-bearing structure just happens.
It just happens. Which is why we are physically inside a living ecological system for this deep dive into living architecture today, tracing these latest transmissions from the Grand Cosmic Mycelial Network.
And that is the paradigm shift that I just cannot stop turning over in my head. The timeline of it all.
What do you mean by the timeline?
Well, we walk around modern cities entirely convinced that we invented structural engineering. You know, we look at skyscrapers and bridges as the absolute pinnacle of material science.
Right. We're very proud of our steel boxes.
Exactly. But the forest invented this exact technology hundreds of millions of years ago. Long before a human being even conceived of stacking two stones together to make a wall, these biological networks were already binding loose particulate matter into highly organized, stress-resistant structures beneath the soil.
It's so humbling. We're so deeply conditioned to think that the future of architecture is going to be born in a pristine robotic factory.
Oh, totally. We picture automated assembly lines stamping out titanium and synthetic glass.
Yeah, but standing in this room, watching these walls slowly knit themselves together at the microscopic level, the realization hits you like a physical weight. The future of architecture doesn't belong to factories. It belongs to mushroom farms.
It fundamentally has to, because to really grasp how wild this biological alternative is, we have to look at how humanity has been building things for our entire history.
Which is terribly.
It is. If you zoom out and look at our overarching philosophy of construction, it is at its core a philosophy of brute force. It is essentially just smashing and burning.
Smashing, burning, and melting. I was thinking exactly about that as we walked into this facility. Contrast the gentle, silent expansion of this biological matter with the sheer trauma of human industry.
The trauma, yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Our method is incredibly brutal. We treat the earth like an infinite quarry. We find a mountain, we dynamite it, we dig up the ore, we cook it in a furnace until it reaches a liquid state, we smash it into the shapes we want, and then we just cross our fingers and hope it stands up against the wind and gravity.
We literally require geological transformation to build a grocery store.
Yes.
If we need a city, we carve millions of tons of limestone and granite out of the Earth's crust. We melt iron ore in what are essentially artificial volcanoes. The energy density required to maintain our built environment is just staggering.
Let's actually talk about that energy, because it's not just a poetic comparison. Put your hand on this fully formed wall section right here.
Oh, wow. It's cool to the touch. It feels like touching a dense, dry hardwood, but the ambient temperature of the room is just room temperature, maybe 20 degrees Celsius.
Exactly, 20 degrees Celsius. Now think about concrete. It is the most used building material on Earth.
Right, after water, it is the second most consumed substance by humanity.
Which is insane on its own. But to make the Portland cement that acts as the binder in that concrete, you have to bake limestone in massive rotary kilns. Do you know the temperature those kilns have to reach?
Something absurd, right? Well over 1,000 degrees.
1,450 degrees Celsius.
1,450. You are essentially simulating the deep mantle of the Earth.
Right. And you have to maintain that artificial volcanic heat continuously. But here's the part that makes the concrete industry so uniquely devastating, and something I think a lot of people just don't realize. The carbon emissions from concrete don't just come from the fossil fuels bringing to heat the kiln.
Right. It comes from the chemistry of the rock itself.
Yes. When you heat limestone calcium carbonate to that extreme temperature, a chemical reaction occurs. It breaks down into calcium oxide, which is the stuff we need for cement, and carbon dioxide, which is released directly into the atmosphere.
Ah, the calcination process.
Exactly. The rock literally exhales CO2 as it transforms. So even if you powered every cement kiln on Earth with 100% clean solar or nuclear energy, the chemical reaction of making cement would still produce billions of tons of greenhouse gases.
Which perfectly frames the staggering statistic that the network laid out in the source material. Modern construction, when you combine the daily energy operations of buildings with the actual production of the physical materials, is responsible for roughly 40% of all global carbon emissions.
40%, it's almost half.
40%. If the Earth could somehow manifest a voice and file a grievance with some interplanetary environmental oversight committee, the human construction industry would be prime suspect number one. We are vaporizing mountains and altering the atmospheric chemistry of the planet just to make floors and walls.
And then you look at the FUN guy. You look at what's happening inches from our faces right now. There is no mining. There are no blast furnaces. There's not even a single mechanical tool being used. It is purely biology performing structural engineering at the molecular level at room temperature.
It's a complete inversion of how we interact with the physical world. Human building demands geological trauma. We erase whole landscapes to extract gravel and sand.
Which we're running out of, by the way.
We are. The global sand shortage alone is becoming a geopolitical crisis because we're literally running out of the specific type of angular sand needed to mix into concrete. But these FUN guy, they simply grow through the garbage we leave behind. They take the discarded husks of our agricultural systems and turn them into shelter.
Okay, let's get down to the floor for a second. Come look at the base of this wall, right where the formwork is open, and the process is only a few days along.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you can see the raw material perfectly down here. It looks like a dense white frost spreading over the corn husks. But when you look closely, you can see the depth to it. It's almost web-like.
Right, and we need to clarify the fundamental biology of what is actually doing the work here. Because when a lot of people hear the phrase fungal architecture, their brain immediately jumps to a fairy tale.
Right, they picture giant Alice in Wonderland toadstools with red caps and white spots holding up a roof.
Exactly. But we aren't using mushrooms. The mushroom is just the fruiting body. It's like the apple on a tree. It's just a temporary reproductive structure popping up above the soil for a few days to drop spores. The actual engine, the hidden perennial machinery making this wall solid, is the mycelium.
Mycelium. It's absolutely mesmerizing when you get down to eye level with it. Look at these tiny microscopic threads reaching out across the gaps in the wood chips.
The hyphae.
It even sounds like some ancient hidden sci-fi network. They branch out like an invisible forest root system, but they aren't roots at all. Roots are relatively passive. They absorb what's in the soil. The hyphae are active, exploring digestive fibers.
Yes, and out in the wild, beneath the forest floor, these networks stretch for miles. They connect trees, soil microbes, plant roots. It's this vast underground trade route.
It's the literal physical infrastructure of the forest. They transport nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon across entire ecosystems, sometimes moving resources from a dying tree to a healthy sapling hundreds of yards away.
Right, and we've talked about that before, how it acts as a communication system. But here, inside this plastic mold, confined to the geometric shape of a wall panel, they are doing the exact same biological process, just tightly packed together.
But wait, hold on. This is where I always get tripped up, and I think any Myco wanderer listening to us right now would have the exact same question.
Okay, what is it?
You're telling me that these microscopic fuzzy threads, basically mushroom roots, are wrapping around dried corn husks, and somehow that produces a material that can support a load-bearing roof.
Right, it sounds impossible.
If it's just agricultural compost wrapped in fungus, why doesn't it just crush under its own weight? Or dissolve the first time it gets wet? How does it actually become hard?
That is the brilliant part. It comes down to the chemistry of digestion and the physical properties of biological polymers. The HYPHE don't just wrap around the corn husks like a string tying a package, they actively eat it.
Oh, they digest it.
Yeah. As they explore the mold, they secrete highly specialized enzymes. Things like lactases and peroxidases.
Enzymes that specifically target plant matter.
Exactly. The agricultural waste they use, like hemp, straw, wood chips, it's primarily made of cellulose and lignin. Lignin is the incredibly tough organic polymer that makes wood hard. It's what allows a tree to stand hundreds of feet tall.
Right, and for millions of years, nothing on Earth could break down lignin. When trees died during the Carboniferous period, they just piled up on top of each other, eventually becoming the coal beds we mine today.
Exactly. But then Fungi evolved the enzymatic keys to unlock and digest lignin.
So in this mold, the hyphae is secreting enzymes to dissolve the lignin and cellulose in the farm waste, converting those tough plant fibers into sugars to feed itself.
Yes, and as it digests the waste, it grows. But what is it growing out of? The cellular walls of the fungal hyphae are made of a structural polymer called chitin.
Chitin. Wait, isn't that what crab shells are made of?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Chitin is a derivative of glucose. It's the exact same tough, lightweight biological armor found in the exoskeletons of beetles, lobsters, and crabs. It has incredible tensile strength.
Oh, I see where this is going.
So as the mycelium digests the loose agricultural waste, it replaces the empty space with a densely woven three-dimensional matrix of chitin.
It's biological rebar.
That is the perfect way to look at it. Think about traditional construction. Concrete has immense compressive strength. It can hold a lot of weight pushing down on it, but it has terrible tensile strength.
Right. If the ground shifts, concrete just snaps.
That's why we have to pour liquid concrete over a massive, heavy grid of steel rebar. The steel provides the tensile strength, the flexibility. Here, the mycelium are the rebar. But they're microscopic. They are woven at the cellular level, and they are actively stitching loose, completely useless garbage into a dense, rock-hard composite.
And me that loose, finished brick over there, the one sitting on the workbench that's already been fully cured.
Here, catch.
I still cannot get over the physical sensation of holding this. Your brain looks at it, sees the texture, and anticipates the weight of a heavy concrete cinder block or a piece of carved sandstone. But it weighs almost nothing.
Right. It feels lighter than a piece of pine wood.
And the mechanical properties of this stuff, they honestly feel like cheat codes for physics.
Right, because once the chitin matrix is fully formed, it exhibits traits that you would normally have to engineer through highly toxic, energy-intensive synthetic processes.
Let's run down the list because it's absurd. First, fire resistance.
Which makes absolutely no intuitive sense to me. How is a block made entirely of dried plant matter and dried fungus fire resistant? If I throw a pile of dried corn husks and dried mushrooms into a campfire, it goes up in flames instantly.
It comes back to the chitin. Chitin has a very unique thermal response. When you expose this mycelium composite to a direct flame, it doesn't ignite and it doesn't melt like synthetic plastic foams.
So what does it do?
Instead, the chitin undergoes a process called carbonization. It chars. The outer layer turns into a dense, carbon-rich thermal shield that actively insulates the interior of the brick from the heat of the fire.
That is wild.
In testing, they've hit these mycelium panels with blowtorches, and while the surface chars black, the structural integrity of the interior remains completely intact and the flame doesn't spread.
That is incredible. So it acts as its own fire retardant without any of the toxic carcinogenic chemicals we spray into modern wall insulation?
Exactly. And speaking of insulation, that's its second cheat code. Because the fungal matrix traps billions of microscopic pockets of air as it grows, the thermal insulation properties of this block are phenomenal.
Like better than regular insulation.
It performs just as well, if not better, than polyurethane foam or fiberglass insulation. But fiberglass requires melting glass at 1700 degrees Celsius and spinning it into fibers, and polyurethane is a petroleum derivative. This is just compost and spores.
And it absorbs acoustic shock, too. It dampens sound waves beautifully because of that porous cellular structure.
It's structurally strong, it's thermally insulating, it's fire resistant, it's acoustic dampening, and here is the ultimate punchline.
Oh, I know what you're going to say. The end of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
At the end of its life, if you decide to tear the building down, you don't have to send thousands of tons of non-recyclable drywall and toxic foam to a landfill where it will sit for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
You just crush the mycelium panels up, throw them in the garden, and they are 100% biodegradable. They return to the soil as nutrients in a matter of weeks.
The efficiency of it all is almost offensive. It's a cosmic joke on human engineering. We have spent the last century building these massive roaring kilns, ripping apart the Earth's crust, emitting billions of tons of carbon, all to make concrete and synthetic foam. The mycelium looks at us from the dirt and says, I can give you structural integrity, thermal insulation, and fire resistance. All I need is a dark room, some moisture, and a snack.
A pile of waste. It's an organic construction factory that runs on literal trash. We have spent thousands of years walking over the most advanced manufacturing system on the planet, completely ignoring it while we banged rocks together.
But what I love most about diving into the network's sources on this is that we aren't just talking in hypotheticals. This isn't some fantasy novel concept where a group of woodland druids are running an architecture firm out of a hollowed out tree.
No, not at all.
This is an applied science happening right now.
Right.
Look at companies like Myco-Verses, a biotech company out of New York.
Yeah.
They are pioneering exactly the kind of process we are walking through right now. They aren't just doing lab experiments, they are scaling this up for industrial production.
The way they've operationalized the biology is fascinating. It's a process known as solid-state surface fermentation. Conceptually, it's incredibly straightforward. You gather the agricultural waste from local farms, so your supply chain is regional, eliminating the massive carbon footprint of shipping raw materials across oceans.
Smart.
You clean it, pasteurize it slightly to remove competing bacteria, and pack it into a mold of whatever shape you want.
A brick, a packaging insert, a wall panel, a piece of furniture.
Exactly. Then you introduce the mycelial culture, and then you just put it on a shelf in the dark and you wait. You let the organism do the work.
Which brings up a logistical question. If I'm a traditional construction foreman, I'm looking at this and saying, okay, but baking a batch of bricks in a kiln takes a day. Pouring a concrete foundation takes a few hours. If I have to wait for a fungus to grow my building materials, how long does that take? A month? 6 months? How does that compete with the speed of modern industry?
It's a great question, but it completely misunderstands the nature of biological scaling. Yes, a single mycelium brick might take 5 to 7 days to fully colonize the mold and reach structural density. But you aren't growing one brick at a time.
Right.
The growth process requires zero human intervention, zero light, and very minimal climate control. So in a facility, you can stack 10,000 molds on racks in a single dark warehouse.
Parallel processing.
Exactly. Traditional manufacturing is often a serial process. It's a bottleneck on an assembly line where a machine stamps one part at a time. Biological manufacturing is massively parallel. While you're sleeping, 10,000 bricks are simultaneously assembling their own molecular structure.
Wait, it suddenly hits me. Do you know what this entire manufacturing process actually is? It's exactly like making sourdough bread.
Oh my gosh, sourdough architecture.
Think about it. To make sourdough, you mix a raw substrate, flour and water, with a living biological culture, the starter. You put it in a container, a proofing basket, and you leave it alone. The organism actively metabolizes the substrate, fundamentally changing the chemistry and physical structure of the material.
Right, it creates air pockets, it binds the gluten.
Oh, yes. Both the bread and the mycelium block produce a loaf of sorts. But the defining characteristic, the thing that separates it from mixing concrete, is that the material is actually alive during its production phase.
That is a brilliant analogy.
Yeah.
But just like bread, there's a crucial final step. Because as a homeowner, you don't want your living room walls to keep growing indefinitely.
Yeah, that would be bad.
You don't want your house to decide to digest the bookshelf or merge with the neighbor's garage.
Right, there has to be an off switch.
Once the mycelium has grown dense enough, digested enough of the waste, and completely filled the geometric boundaries of the mold, you have to stop the biology. You take the mold and you bake it.
But not at 1400 degrees like cement.
No, just a relatively low heat, around 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. Just enough to denature the fungal proteins. You kill the organism to freeze the structure in place. You evaporate the remaining moisture, and what you are left with is an inert, lightweight, incredibly strong composite material.
You bake the bricks. So if we extrapolate this out, we have to completely reimagine the factories of the future. They aren't going to be these cold, deafening steel environments full of sparks and toxic fumes.
No.
They're going to look and feel like highly organized fungal bakeries, cavernous, quiet rooms with racks upon racks of molds, incubating in the dark, smelling faintly of rich earth and petrichor.
And if the organism doesn't care about the scale, if it only cares about the availability of food and the shape of the boundary you give it, why stop at a brick? You don't have to build a wall by stacking tiny rectangles. You can grow an entire seamless wall section in one massive mold.
Which is exactly what we're starting to see in avant-garde architecture right now.
Right. If you look at the experimental structures popping up at international design festivals and architectural showcases over the last few years, architects are taking this material and scaling it into massive temporary pavilions. There was a famous installation at MoMA PS1 in New York called the Hi-Fi Tower.
I remember seeing pictures of that.
It was built from thousands of these mycelium bricks. But beyond bricks, we are seeing monolithic pores, sweeping organic sculptures, futuristic honeycombs, complex acoustic dampening panels for auditoriums.
They don't look built. When you look at the photos of these structures, they look sprouted.
Sprouted, exactly. They have this incredibly distinct organic aesthetic. It looks as if the forest suddenly decided to try its hand at urban planning. And importantly, they're supporting actual structural loads. These aren't just decorative wall coverings. The material is bearing the weight of the structure.
Okay, but walk with me for a second. Let's move away from the finished blocks and step back over to this active wall section. The one that hasn't been heat treated yet. The one where the formwork is still in place.
The one that's still fuzzy.
Yeah, I'm gonna touch it.
I mean, I wouldn't. Wait, you can, it's safe, but...
Oh wow, nope, I'm pulling my hand back. I don't know why, but I felt a genuine shiver go down my spine. It's totally fascinating intellectually, but on a visceral primate level, my brain is rejecting the concept of touching the wall of a building and feeling it yield, feeling the biological warmth of it.
Because your brain knows it's alive. We have a deep instinctual categorization system. A wall is a rock. A rock is dead. A wall should not be metabolizing.
It's alive. During this entire production phase, the very walls around us are undergoing a slow biological knitting project. You know, Myco Wanderers, if you're standing here with us, just imagine walking onto a traditional construction site. You've got your hard hat on, your neon vest. The foreman walks up to you, looks around nervously, puts a finger to his lips and whispers, "Shh, don't disturb the walls, they're still growing."
That just completely breaks your brain a little bit because it fundamentally blurs this very rigid artificial line we've drawn between an object and an ecosystem. And this brings up a theoretical leap that some architects are already exploring. What if we don't bake it?
Wait, what do you mean? You just said you have to bake it to stop it from growing.
You do if you want a static, inert brick.
Yeah.
But what if architects intentionally design systems to keep parts of these materials partially living? What if the interior of the wall is sealed and dormant, but structurally viable, capable of reawakening if certain conditions are met? If the walls are alive, able to adapt to humidity or react to environmental damage, then architecture fundamentally changes from a product to a process.
It's no longer a dead shelter, it's a responsive organism.
Right. It raises this incredibly heavy philosophical question right here, right now, as we stand inside this structure. I want you to really think about this. Are these still objects we are standing inside? Or are these ecosystems wearing the shape of buildings?
Oh wow, ecosystems wearing the shape of buildings, that's profound.
Think about the implications. We have spent all of human history defining indoors as the absolute exclusion of outdoors. We build sealed boxes to keep nature out. But if the wall itself can adapt, if it can react to moisture or temperature fluctuations because it's fundamentally a living fungal network, how does that change our psychological understanding of shelter? The boundary completely dissolves. You aren't taking shelter from nature, you are taking shelter within a curated extension of it. The building isn't a machine for living in, it's a symbiotic partner.
That is so profoundly heavy. The idea of living inside an ecosystem that breathes and reacts with you, it completely rewrites the human relationship with the built environment. But you know what? To really push this concept to its absolute limit, we need to look up
Up at the ceiling of the facility?
higher, through the ceiling, through the atmosphere. I'm going to take our Myco patrons on a sudden, extreme leap from the damp, earthy floor of a forest all the way into the vacuum of space to the surface of Mars.
The ultimate stress test for any technology.
Exactly. Because if you think building a house on Earth is difficult and energy intensive, space travel is governed by the single most unforgiving, annoying logistical rule in the universe. Mass is the enemy.
Every single gram matters. The physics of escaping Earth's gravity well are brutal.
Brutal. It's dictated by the Tsiolkovsky rocket equation. If you want to launch a kilogram of steel or a kilogram of concrete or lead plates for radiation shielding into orbit, you need an enormous amount of rocket fuel.
And here is the cruelty of the rocket equation. To lift that extra fuel, you need more fuel. And to lift the fuel that's lifting the fuel, you need even more fuel. It's an exponential curve of diminishing return.
Right. The mass fraction is devastating. It costs thousands of dollars just to put a single kilogram of mass into low Earth orbit. To send mass all the way to Mars, the cost is astronomical. So if humanity actually plans to establish a permanent presence on Mars or the Moon, the idea of loading a massive starship with prefabricated concrete blocks, steel I-beams, and heavy machinery to build a habitat is financially, mathematically, and physically absurd.
You literally cannot carry a city to Mars. You would need thousands of launches just to build a small neighborhood. Which is why NASA and various space agencies have been funding research into the network's technology. Because the biological alternative to the rocket equation is it's laughably elegant.
It bypasses the mass problem entirely because you don't launch the building.
You don't launch the heavy prefabricated materials at all. You launch the information and the mechanism to build the site. You launch the organism. Spores. Think about the visual of that. Spores are microscopic biological data packets. They can survive the vacuum of space, extreme cold, and radiation through a state of deep dormancy called cryptobiosis. You could fit millions of potential building units, literally the foundational infrastructure for an entire Martian outpost, into a cryogenic container the size of a lunchbox. Because fungal spores weigh practically nothing.
So let's picture the actual mission architecture. The astronauts land on Mars. The airlock doors open. And they don't step out in awkward pressurized gravity suits trying to weld heavy steel plates together in the dust. They step out to plant their habitat.
It's a totally different paradigm of colonization. First, they unpack these incredibly lightweight inflatable scaffolds, just thin, airtight membranes made of ETFE or a similar polymer. They inflate them to create the initial geometric shape of the habitat.
But a thin balloon won't protect you from the Martian environment.
No, it just provides the boundary. Inside the layers of that membrane, they introduce a biological feedstock. Since you can't bring a forest of wood chips to Mars, you use what you can grow in transit, like algal biomass or cyanobacteria. You pump that organic matter into the walls of the scaffold. You add a little bit of recycled water. You introduce the mycelium spores from the lunchbox, and you let the FUN guy grow the structural panels right inside the pressurized chambers.
The FUN guy digests the algae, expanding and weaving their chitin network until the hollow balloon becomes a solid structural dome of dense biological concrete.
Exactly. But here is where it gets truly brilliant, and where the specific environmental challenges of Mars come into play. Mars is covered in regolith, the loose, rocky iron oxide dust that covers the planet. It's toxic, it's abrasive, and it's everywhere.
And you have to use it. You have no other choice because you need a shield. Mars doesn't have Earth's thick atmosphere, and more importantly, it doesn't have a magnetosphere. The cosmic radiation and solar flares on the surface are deadly. If you stand on the surface of Mars without shielding, your DNA will be shredded. Early space habitats are going to need incredibly thick, heavy shielding just to keep the astronauts alive.
So how do you build a heavy shield without bringing heavy materials from Earth? You use the local dirt. The mycelium can be engineered to weave the Martian regolith directly into its own network. As the HY grow, they don't just digest the algae, they encapsulate the regolith particles. They act like biological fiberglass.
Biological fiberglass, that's brilliant. The toxic Martian dust is the glass fiber providing the raw mass, and the living mycelium acts, the epoxy resin binding it all together.
Exactly. The FUN guy grow through the alien dirt, binding the loose regolith into massively thick, dense walls.
Yeah.
And the network's research points out something even more sci-fi. Some Earth fungi already demonstrate a surprising tolerance to, and even an affinity for, radiation.
Wait, really? Like radiation?
Yes! Radiotrophic fungi. We discovered them growing inside the highly radioactive ruins of the Chernobyl nuclear reactor. Instead of using chlorophyll to turn sunlight into energy like plants do, these fungi use melanin, the same pigment in human skin, to absorb high-energy ionizing radiation and convert it into chemical energy for growth.
They eat radiation.
They metabolize it. So, conceptually, we are talking about combining a radiation-resistant, potentially radiotrophic biological network with dense planetary soil to grow a living radiation shield on demand. The more radiation hits the habitat, the happier the fungal matrix might be.
That is mind-bending, but there is a danger in space that is even more terrifying and immediate than radiation exposure.
Vacuum, the total lack of atmospheric pressure.
Vacuum. The pressure differential between a pressurized habitat and the near vacuum of the Martian surface is extreme. Let's imagine a highly plausible, terrifying scenario for our listeners. You are living in a traditional steel and glass habitat on Mars. A micrometeorite strikes the dome, or the extreme thermal cycling. The wild temperature swings between Martian day and night causes the metal to fatigue. You get a stress fracture, a microcrack in the wall.
In a traditional mechanical structure, there's a catastrophic alarms blaring emergency. The atmosphere starts venting. You need immediate intervention. Astronauts have to suit up, find the microscopic leak, and apply synthetic patches, epoxy, or welding. If a machine breaks, it stays broken, degrading continuously until a human manually fixes it.
But what if we didn't bake the bricks? What if, in this Martian habitat, we left the mycelium bedded deep within the regolith walls, sealed off from the vacuum, dormant but still biologically alive? What happens when a crack forms?
It heals.
The wall heals itself.
It is staggering to think about. How does a blind fungus know the wall is broken? It's all about environmental gradients. The inner layer of the wall is in a pressurized, oxygen-rich environment. The outer layer is exposed to vacuum. If a crack forms, it creates a sudden, sharp chemical and pressure gradient. Oxygen and moisture start rushing into the fracture.
And the dormant mycelium senses that chemical shift.
Exactly. The fungal network acts exactly like a biological immune system. It senses the damage, the sudden influx of oxygen and moisture, and the dormant hyphae wake up. They begin aggressively growing toward the gradient, reaching across the fracture, weaving their chitin threads back together, and organically sealing the breach, often within hours.
The wall literally heals its own broken bones. It scars over, and in many cases, biological scar tissue is actually thicker and stronger than the original material.
It's a profound paradigm shift. The habitat is no longer a machine. A machine, by the laws of entropy, only breaks down and degrades over time. But this behaves like a biological organism maintaining its own skeleton. The architecture has an immune system. It responds to trauma with regeneration.
It's living infrastructure, the immortal space wall. And this is where the entire deep dive comes full circle for me. If we can engineer a living, self-healing, metabolizing structure to survive the brutal, unforgiving vacuum of Mars, let's zoom all the way back down the gravity well to Earth. Look around this quiet, growing room again.
If buildings can grow, if they can adapt to their environmental humidity, if they can sequester carbon instead of emitting it, if they can heal their own microfractures, then why are we still building dead cities?
Exactly. The cities of the future aren't going to operate like giant decaying machines that require constant, energy-intensive maintenance.
They won't just be static monuments of concrete and steel slowly crumbling under the weather until we tear them down and pour more carbon into the sky to build new ones. They will metabolize. They will transpire. They will heal. A city block will behave exactly like a forest ecosystem.
Which brings us to the ultimate humbling realization as we stand here in the damp, earthy silence, watching these walls quietly rise around us. For all of human history, particularly since the Industrial Revolution, humanity has looked at nature and seen only a warehouse.
A warehouse of raw materials to be plundered. We look at a forest and see timber to be cut. We look at a mountain and see stone to be mined. We view biology purely as a resource to extract.
But we completely miss the point. We've been looking at it backward. Nature isn't the warehouse. It is a highly advanced, ruthlessly efficient, zero-waste manufacturing facility. And it has been running perfectly, iterating its designs through evolution for over 1 billion years.
The paradigm shift is total. The future of architecture, the future of how humanity physically inhabits the universe, doesn't begin with a human architect drawing a rigid geometric blueprint on a piece of paper. It begins with a spore.
A single microscopic spore, holding the genetic blueprint to digest the past and construct the future.
And as we quietly wander out of this active ecosystem, leaving these hyphae to finish their slow molecular knitting in the dark, I want to leave our cosmic travelers with one final lingering thought to turn over in their minds.
What's that?
If a literal, highly advanced biological construction crew has been hiding right beneath our feet for 1 billion years, quietly building intricate, self-healing, load-bearing structures while we're up here banging rocks together and burning mountains to dust, what other impossible, world-saving technologies are quietly evolving in the dirt right now, just waiting for us to finally pay attention?
Are you tired of the same 3 corporations controlling all the music you hear?
Yeah, so were we. So we said spore it and made our own. Welcome to TMN Radio, where we've infected the airwaves with fungi-powered frequencies. We got underground bangers, myco deep dives, and cosmic beats big box media is too scared to touch 24/7. No ads, except this one. And, well, these are actually technically called Myco breaks. So inhale some mycelium-infused air, embrace your inner tree hugger, and get ready for some mind-blowing mycomania. The Mushroom Network has spoken. You've been chosen.
Tune in, the hottest growing underground network around.
TMN Radio. It's alive.
Welcome back, cosmic travelers. Yes. Gather close to the campfire of curiosity. Pull your boots off at the edge of the mycelial trail and shake the dust of ordinary thinking from your minds. You have entered once again another sporetacular fungal reflection. I am, as always, your wandering guide through the tangled underroots of reality, the Spore Keeper. And tonight, I must confess something. I once found a city that should not exist. Not on any map, not in any star chart, not even in the strange dream archives of the Cosmic Mycelial Network. A city that does not stand still, a city that grows. Now, before you interrupt me and say, Spore Keeper, perhaps you inhaled a few too many mushroom spores that day. Let me assure you, I thought the same thing, at first. But the deeper I wandered into this place, the stranger it became. Because the buildings, they were not built, they were growing. Picture it, cosmic travelers. You walk toward the horizon expecting the usual stone and steel towers of civilization, but instead you see mushroom caps rising like mountains. Towering pillars of living architecture, stretching upward, layer upon layer, spiraling into the clouds like fungal cathedrals. Some were shaped like enormous shelf mushrooms, stacked balconies curling outward. Others looked like glowing domes, smooth and rounded, pulsing faintly with bioluminescent light. And the streets. Oh, the streets were my favorite part. Because they didn't stay where you left them. Beneath your feet ran vast, glowing pathways of mycelium, threads of living network weaving through the soil like luminous roots. Step down one street today, and tomorrow it might curve somewhere else entirely. The pathways shifted, adjusted, adapted. The whole city behaved less like a machine and more like a living organism. Now here is where the story gets ridiculous. And I know this because I watched an entire neighborhood appear overnight. One evening I passed through a quiet clearing where only a few scattered fungal cottages stood. But during the night a gentle rain began to fall, soft droplets tapping against the caps of giant mushrooms like a cosmic drum circle. By morning, that clearing had become an entire district. Dozens, hundreds, maybe thousands of new structures had sprouted from the earth. Little dome homes, tall spore towers, spiraling bridges connecting the caps like woven fungal highways. I stood there scratching my beard thinking, either this city has the fastest construction crews in the universe, or something much stranger is happening. So I began observing the place carefully, because curiosity is a dangerous thing when you're a spore keeper. I noticed something unusual. There were no borders, no districts fighting for land, no fences, no resource shortages, no arguments over who owned which piece of ground. Instead, the entire city behaved like one enormous network. Resources moved through the underground mycelial highways. Water flowed where it was needed. Nutrients traveled silently through the fungal threads. If one area grew too dense, the city expanded elsewhere. If one tower weakened, nutrients were redirected to strengthen it. Every part supported every other part. No competition, only cooperation. And that was when the realization hit me like a falling puffball mushroom. Human cities. They behave like machines, rigid, separate, competing systems stacked on top of each other. But fungal cities, they behave like ecosystems. Because mycelium doesn't think in terms of winners and losers, it thinks in terms of balance. Fungi share nutrients with plants. Plants feed fungi sugars. Entire forests survive because these underground networks quietly move resources where they are needed most. A tree in the shade might receive nutrients from one standing in the sunlight. An injured plant might be supported by neighbors it has never even touched. It's not charity. It's not competition. It's cooperation as survival strategy. Now imagine, just imagine. What might happen if civilizations worked the same way? Cities that adapt instead of collapsing. Communities that share resources instead of hoarding them. Networks that strengthen the whole rather than isolating the parts. Imagine societies designed more like mycelial networks, and less like rival kingdoms competing for control of the same patch of soil. Now, of course, I can already hear some of you thinking, Spore Keeper, are you telling us you discovered an alien mushroom civilization somewhere out there in the cosmos? Well, perhaps, or perhaps not. Because the longer I thought about that strange city, the more I realized something unsettling. Maybe it wasn't alien at all. Maybe it was simply nature's blueprint for how living systems organize themselves. And perhaps the reason it seems so strange to me is because humans have forgotten how to build like forests do. So the next time you walk through a woodland trail and you see mushrooms rising from the soil after a rain, pause for a moment, because you might not be looking at random fungi. You might be seeing tiny architects demonstrating a design philosophy older than cities themselves. A philosophy that says, life thrives not through domination, but through connection. And that, cosmic travelers, is tonight's fungal reflection. Until our paths cross again beneath the glowing threads of the Grand Cosmic Mycelial Network, keep wandering, keep wondering, and remember, somewhere out there, the infinite mushroom city is still growing.
Listen up, this is big. Myco-Emporium just locked something special.
The connection is established. The supply line is alive.
We're talking exclusive access. Myco-Emporium now has the plug on 3G Nursery, the certified nursery of the Mushroom Network.
Not sourced, not outsourced. Grown under watch, prepared with intention.
And for the first time ever, we're taking it to the public, in person. Booth events, face-to-face with living systems.
The cycle leaves the lab. The habitat meets the hands.
Here's what's coming with us. 3G duckweed, fast, alive, ridiculously useful. 3G lichen, ancient partnerships in miniature. 3G aeroplants, no soil, no nonsense, pure flex. Geozeno, lab-grown living stones that look like they came from a completely different Myco-Verse. 3G mulberry, roots with a future. 3G mythic passion flora, wild, trippy, strange, and absolutely unforgettable.
These are not decorations, they are introductions.
If you've ever wanted to walk up to a booth and feel like you just discovered something you weren't supposed to know yet,
this is your moment.
Myco-Emporium, 3G Nursery. Live, in person.
The system is opening.
Signal detected. Spore transmission active. Entering the network. Entering the network.
I wander past the red dust hills, where the alien winds outside. Saw towers made of mushroom caps stretching miles into the sky. Streets were glowing underfoot like roots beneath the ground. And every pulse of living soil made a distant humming sound. No bricks, no steel, no empire walls trying to rule the land. Just fungal threads like cosmic wires weaving through the sand. I laughed and thought, what architect could ever build this place? Then realized as city grew, it wasn't built by any race.
Every raindrop sparks a spark. Every spore ignites the dark. Underground the whispers flow. Through the threads we barely know.
Welcome to the infinite mushroom city, where the towers grow tall and the streets get trippy. Didgeridoo hum in the Martian night, mycelium glowing with biolume light. Infinite city, cosmic design. Every little spore is a spark divine. Through the network we all connect. Grand mycelial architecture. Yeah, step through the spores when the soil starts breathing. Planet terraformed by your fungus that's dreaming. Didgeridoo echo in the canyon of cap, signaling the roots where the dead are relapsed. Mirror underground where the nutrients run. Every thread glowing like a miniature sun. Cities ain't steel, they organic design. Growing every second through the space-time bind. Spore Keeper laughing in the cosmic rain. Saying every kingdom built on ego away. But the fungal network never fights for the throne. Every cap connected, every spore has a home.
Share the light, share the ground. Through the network, life is found.
Protector. Protector. Connected.
Welcome to the infinite mushroom city, where the towers grow tall and the streets get trippy. Didgeridoo hum in the Martian night, mycelium glowing with biolume light. Infinite city, cosmic design. Every little spore is a spark divine. Through the network we all connect. Grand mycelial architecture.
Some civilization build walls, but the fungi calculate.
Mycelial Network.
Signal fading. Spore transmission complete. You are already connected.
invisible cities beneath the sands. Every little spore is a spark in the night, lighting up the dark with a biolume light. Feel the rhythm in the ground below. Every thread with a life stream slow. When the rain hits soil, it's a living show. Network rising everywhere we go.
Welcome to the sound of the Spore Network. Based in the soil where the roots all work. Cosmic connection under our feet. Mycelium rhythm with the underground beat.
Signal alive in the midnight sky. Every little spore learning how to fly through the network. Life connects again. Fungal frequencies moving through the wind. Yeah, signal in the ground where the life forms meet. Threads running deeper than the city streets. Started in the dirt where the systems align. Every time they rule like a fiber line. No kings on the ground, just balance and flow. Every living system learning how to grow. Planet to planet, the pattern repeats. Life builds networks underneath our feet.
Welcome to the sound of the Spore Network. Based in the soil where the roots all work. Cosmic connection under our feet. Mycelium rhythm with the underground beat.
Signal alive and the network expands. Life coming quietly through the lands. Through the network, life connects again. Fungal frequencies moving through the wind.
Static in the storm. Frequency rising. Somewhere in the soil. Something's waking.
Midnight when they got the crimson sands. Life starts whispering under the land. Tiny sparks let the darkness leave. Threads in the dust running miles deep. Roots like wires in a hidden grid. Every secret that the planet is. Every echo from a distant age. Now rewriting the planetary page. Hidden rhythm under the stone. Not a signal built by throne. Not a system forged by king. Just the quiet pulse of a living thing. Biolume base in the alien night. Spores take flight in the neon light. Something ancient and learning to grow. Where the silent red deserts glow. Biolume base in the cosmic rain. Life returns to the dust again. When the quiet underground awakes, as the world begins to shake. Yeah. myelin base in the alien night. Spores ignite when the storm winds bite. Every thread finds a place to go. Every silent system starts to glow. Myelin base when the worlds align. Life expands to the cosmic vine. When the undercurrent starts to sing, every planet learns to live away.
Every planet learns to live again.
Base in the soil, base in the sky, something alive when the spores fly by. Boots on the ground where the red dust shakes. Life starts buzzing when the planet wakes. Tiny sparks where the dark ones slept. Now the whole biosphere starts to flare. Roots in the deep like electric veins. Life breaking loose from the cosmic chains. No blueprint, no master plan, just spores rewriting the land. Feel that rumble when the soil ignites. Hear that rhythm in the alien night. Something ancient starting to rise right beneath our wandering eyes. Base beneath the biosphere. Feel a pulse when the spores appear. Whole damn planet starts to move when the fungal network finds its groove. Base beneath the biosphere. Life comes back when the signal's clear. Every root line starts to dance when the underground gets its chance. Red planet spinning with a new heartbeat. Life in the dust with a baseline beat. Reds in the ground like a cosmic map. Every little root line ready to snap. Boom when the network lights the zone. No one ever built from a throne of stone. Just a million spores in the air tonight, turning dead worlds into biolume light. Stomp that ground, hear that sound. Life returning all around. When the soil begins to roar, every wall becomes a forest floor. When the spores appear, every silent is a glow. It grows. Base beneath the biosphere. Life beneath after a year. From the dust the wild roots rise, building forests in the sky. Skies, skies, skies,
bass uprising in the midnight glow. Neon gas bouncing in the undertow. Every planet dancing in the fungal flow. When the network drops, we all explode. Full bass uprising, hear the planet sing. Every hidden root line doing its thing. From the soil to the stars above. Life is hard with the bass we love. Baseline rumbling through the canyon flow. Life coming back like it did before. Threads in the dust like a cosmic code. Every pulse lighting up the road. Planet breathing when the groove takes hold. Silent deserts turning bright and bold. Spores in the air when the rhythm arrives. Turning quiet worlds into living hives. Uprising for the ground, ignite neon forest dancing in the night. Every root line building something new. When the Myco groove comes crashing through. Spore base uprising, let the whole world hear. Life in the dust when those spores appear. From the soil to the cosmic ring, everything alive when the fungi sing. Yeah.
Yo, audio explorers! Searching for the source of those spore-soaked bangers? Head straight to Myco-Verses Productions, your portal to the Mushroom Network's fully mastered tracks, genre-bending albums, and mind-melting remix collections. From chill spore vibes to cosmic bass drops, every track is a journey through sound. Myco-Verses Productions, because Spore's got a shop too.
Myco-Verse transmission acknowledged. Signal coherence within acceptable variance. Biological input successfully received. Cognitive resonance detected. Listener node classified as active participant. No corrective action required. This channel will now enter dormancy. Ambient systems remain operational. Memory persistence is not guaranteed. Influence persistence is inevitable. You are cleared to disengage. The network does not require your attention to continue. Myco-Verse audio transmission complete.